When an open world gacha game looks visually stunning and the combat gives off Elden Ring vibes, it's definitely bound to draw a lot of players in, especially since no other gacha game was able to ever provide exciting and challenging combat. So WutheringWaves, being the first game to provide just that, allows players to be pumped with adrenaline trying to clear through enemies such as hologram bosses. However, with the release of the Magistrate of Jinzhou, also known as the Honored One, she has truly made content initially capable of providing players with a challenge much more easier. You may also be able to say she was in fact released a bit too early, as she pretty much deletes the difficulty from a lot of content. That being said, it does go without saying that her performance will vary from account to account. But even at S0 and no signature weapon, Jinhsi is still able to clear through all content with ease. So I'm just gonna go over the insane amount of value Jinhsi holds, her rerun banner possibly dropping very soon, and ultimately, how much of an impact Jinhsi really has had in WutheringWaves. Just before we jump into it, as always, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now, just prior to Jinhsi's release back in 1.1, the king/queen of burst damage was in fact Havoc Rover, which was capable of dealing an insane amount of damage with their Resonance Liberation, and if you combo Dreamless afterwards, you were able to deal a great amount of DPS, and to be fair, Havoc Rover is still able to deal that damage, but the perception of Havoc Rover's damage being insane completely changed with the release of Jinhsi. Not only was Jinhsi able to surpass Havoc Rover's burst DPS with her Resonance Liberation, but was able to also surpass it with her Resonance skill, which is in fact her most powerful ability. So considering that Jinhsi is capable of dealing insane damage with both her Resonance Liberation and Resonance skill, allows her to pretty much nuke her way out of all difficult content within the game. Additionally, paired with the ability of staying in the air, allows Jinhsi to deal top tier damage along with evading majority of enemies' attacks, which makes her very comfortable to play with once you have entered her second state. So with that being said, whenever new endgame content drops such as the Inferno Rider hologram boss, Jinhsi is able to deal nuclear damage whilst avoiding majority of his attacks, which would lead to a much easier clear than using any other DPS character. Also, more specifically with the Crownless hologram boss, his combos do become a lot more intense once he enters his second phase, which requires you to dodge a lot of continuous attacks, and if you slip up, then you would lose a character instantly. However, Jinhsi kinda allows you to only face that combo from the Crownless once, or maybe not at all, if you have a well-invested Jinhsi and a solid team supporting her. So a massive aspect of the combat in WutheringWaves, which is to memorize attack patterns of bosses and to either dodge or parry them, is suddenly not as important when you have Jinhsi completely nuking their HP before they can start her annoying attack pattern. Lastly, another major aspect of the combat system in WutheringWaves is Concerto Energy, as this allows you to trigger intro and outro skills which will provide valuable buffs and effects to allies. So the fact that Jinhsi has a unique passive known as Unison, which allows Jinhsi to trigger her outro skill and for the next resonator to trigger their intro skill without touching the Concerto meter, is extremely valuable to allow quick rotations and for you to work your way back up to Jinhsi's overpowered resonance skill as soon as. So Jinhsi's kit really is extremely unique and holds a ton more value over every other DPS character, and so with that being said, I truly believe Jinhsi was released a bit too early, as content in the game currently doesn't warrant a character being capable of nuking their way out of it. Of course, when it comes to other modes such as Tower of Adversity, you are required to have multiple DPS characters built up, and especially with the new Overdrive zone, you do in fact need 3 main DPS characters to clear every stage. So it's not as if you are able to use Jinhsi on every stage, which does bring some balance to the mode as you are relying on other DPS characters alongside Jinhsi. However, as for those other characters, they just aren't at Jinhsi's level, and I would argue there won't be another character at Jinhsi's level or that will surpass Jinhsi for a while, as it is pretty hard to imagine a character capable of providing more value than Jinhsi through their kit, especially when considering how flexible Jinhsi is as a character, as currently there isn't a dedicated support made for Jinhsi. Of course, Zheji right now is the best sub DPS for Jinhsi, as she is able to deal coordinated attacks and increase resonance skill damage. But her outro skill also increases glacial damage by 20%, which has no effect on Jinhsi. so there is still potential for Jinhsi to become even more powerful. That is, if they do decide to release a spectral version of Baizhi, as the spectral damage bonus would be a significant damage increase for Jinhsi. However, that is likely not happening anytime soon, as Jinhsi really has no need for a better sub DPS. So till then, you can run Jinhsi along with any sub DPS character which is capable of dealing coordinated attacks, such as Yinlin, Yuanwu, or even Mortifi. But of course, Baizhi would be the best, as she can also increase resonant skill damage by 25%. So Jinhsi's team flexibility is an amazing aspect about her and is definitely overlooked, as the amount of insane damage she deals would likely be what most players would focus on. Now, with the fact that there are quite a few DPS characters dropping very soon, such as Jiyan on his Rerun banner and Camellia in 1.4, there is reason to believe that Jinhsi's Rerun will also be dropping very soon, since Rerun banners have started to roll out and from what we can tell are dropping in order as when they initially released, as Jiyan is returning in 1.3 and Yinlin is very likely dropping in 1.4 since only Camellia was drip marketed for 1.4. So naturally, if they do keep characters dropping in order, then Jinhsi would be next and will be dropping in 2.0. Also, considering version 2.0 is without question going to be a massive update that will feature a crazy amount of new content and likely a whole new region, the best DPS character in the game would definitely be a perfect character to rerun to celebrate such a huge update. Additionally, and take this with a pinch of salt, but there have been rumors regarding skins dropping in version 2.0, and the two characters that will receive a skin are Sanhua and Jinhsi. So with that, it provides slightly more confirmation on the fact that Jinhsi will be dropping in 2.0, as for players that would like to pick up the skin, will of course want to also pick up the character if they weren't able to before or started just after Jinhsi's banner. So coming back to the point that there are a few DPS characters dropping very soon with big names for themselves, I would strongly advise to consider summoning for Jinhsi amongst your plans to summon for other characters. I know there's a ton of hype surrounding characters like Jiyan and Camellia, so I don't feel like I can say you should skip them, as if you like the character then you should of course summon. But the amount of value Jinhsi provides won't be comparable. However, that might be a bit too early to say about Camellia, as she could really turn out to be a broken DPS as well. Though I personally do see her introducing a more fun playstyle, as she would be able to switch between her two forms and will of course still be capable of dealing really good DPS, but to reach Jinhsi's level is going to be very difficult. Lastly, with version 2.0 being a massive update, there is a high chance of a brand new character dropping within the first phase that will also have a ton of hype, which of course will try to stray players away from pulling for Jinhsi. So as difficult as it will be to stay committed, I would simply take this as a fair warning for Jinhsi's soon return and to save as much as you possibly can. As if you are a player that wasn't able to pick her up before and you value a character that is capable of dealing enough damage to clear through all types of difficult content, then Jinhsi is going to be a top priority character. Overall, Jinhsi truly is perfect, from her elegant design to her monstrous DPS, which definitely makes her an extremely valuable character. So the fact that she was released only in 1.1 might have been a bit too early, as she kinda is clashing with one of the core principles in WutheringWaves, which is for the combat to be challenging. Again, this will vary from account to account, as not everyone will have the best echoes or the best characters to support Jinhsi. But as I do only have an S0 Jinhsi without her signature weapon, I can say it is definitely achievable to reach a level where Jinhsi clears through enemies very easily with just the right amount of investment. So considering the fact her rerun banner will likely be dropping in version 2.0 along with her brand new skin, I again would strongly advise for players to consider picking her up if you don't have her, as she really is above and beyond every other DPS character and will likely be for a while, since endgame content is increasingly becoming more difficult as seen with the Overdrive Zone, but not at the pace to warrant a stronger character to release anytime soon. However, if you do already have Jinhsi and don't have a signature weapon, maybe then picking up the signature weapon would be worth considering, as it does provide a significant boost in Jinhsi's damage and will definitely reduce the pressure on having to acquire perfect echoes. But that being said, I can personally tell you she really does not need it if you have a well invested Jinhsi. Ultimately, it is down to your preference and the state of your account whether you do summon for Jinhsi or not. But just know, even if a stronger character does release anytime soon, the fact that you require at least 3 DPS characters now in Tower of Adversity means that Jinhsi will be an extremely valuable DPS character for quite some time. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on your thoughts on Jinhsi, as well as if you already have her, or will you be picking her up on her rerun. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.